Okay, can we welcome John back to the stage for his president's remarks?
Well, Ken, you said a lot of nice things, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Hello again. I will tell you again, it's been a privilege to be your president this year, but I will tell you the privilege that you gave me this year to serve as your president and to be able to apply my somewhat unique story and similar stories of so many others to the important and ongoing work of the council has really been an outstanding opportunity. Last year I told you that we're going to need to ask some hard questions. And I also said that we're going to have to tackle some hard topics. Well, we've done just that. We have confronted tradition regarding the inclusion of aspiring architects on a non-traditional pathway to licensure through our Pathways to Practice initiative. We've challenged conventional wisdom to include and celebrate community college education as an important entry portal and valuable resource to the development of licensure candidates. We've insisted upon and initiated a new conversation regarding best practices and ways to support accredited education. And we've inserted workforce readiness as a key factor in defining competency to practice. We were able to do this. We were able to pose these questions. We were able to challenge these norms because of your encouragement. And I'll say your courage last year with the changes that you voted for and the volunteer efforts of so many of you in this room. We're able to do this because of the work of many of my predecessors, like past President Bayless Ward, who launched groundbreaking task forces on competency and licensure research development that are underway today. Thanks to the work of so many of you, NCARB is positioned to really respond to the challenges of transformational change as our approach to regulation and practice evolve. Now we find ourselves here again, a year later, where important work is yet to be done. At this ABM, we have the opportunity to set the stage for important and necessary strategic changes that yet to have to take place in this organization. And I want to highlight a couple of those that are especially important. The NCARB certificate as a credential for board service has its roots in conversations that have gone back over 10 years. When we acted to require all elected board members to hold a certificate, we did so in recognition of the NCARB brand and support of the NCARB mission. But with a renewed appreciation for the value of inclusion and diversity, we've discovered that this requirement can also become an impediment to access. So under Brian Kelly's leadership, the Credentials Committee studied this issue this past year and proposed a balanced recommendation that NCARB board officers representing the council at the highest levels should be certificate holders. But those seeking director positions don't need to. This allows leadership opportunities to be more flexible and provide a path for more diverse participation at the board. My sincere thanks to Brian and your Credentials Committee for that insightful recommendation. The second thing I want to touch on is the ARE eligibility changes that are proposed so that they are better aligned with the AXP, so that the benchmark for recording experience and testing eligibilities can be consistent. The recommendation to establish high school graduation as a minimum benchmark for education required for ARE eligibility is intended to provide opportunities for individuals who may have entered the profession and built their professional skills through experience, but who lack the resources to follow a traditional higher education pathway. For them, the minimum level of formal education may have only included some college but without a degree. Or they may be returning to college at a later point in their career, but they haven't finished yet. These individuals should not be subject to an artificial barrier when they've developed their professional competencies through experience and other means, and can determine for themselves when they're ready to test. This is also a key component to supporting 30% of our member jurisdictions that have successfully allowed multiple pathways to licensure for many, many years. I know one of them quite well. Lastly, the NCARB governance reform last year did not address regional realignment, but was identified by a majority of our membership at that time as an important issue to study. So as I promised you last year, that's exactly what we did. Following last year's extraordinary member support for this transformational change in governance that you all approved, and I think it exceeded all of our expectations, member sentiment suggested that the adjustments to our regional structure would complement our recent governance changes and help achieve several goals identified during last year's governance discussions. So this year, led by past President Christine Harding, our regional realignment work, at my request, studied how we might realign our regions to support a few simple goals. First, to provide a broader and more diverse pool of regional candidates for volunteer service, for regional support, and ultimately for council leadership. Second, to add an additional open at-large seat to the board of directors. Good grief, we have 10 people running for 2 seats today. It's more popular than I think any of us actually expected. And the third is to create regions of more equitable size with more equitable representation. This final proposal that is before you and that we'll talk about on Saturday evolved throughout this past year based on your direct feedback and reflects preferences and concerns expressed by the majority of our membership. So to Christine, where are you, Christine? My thanks and my condolences for taking on such a controversial task. Christine, you're a rock star. It was a difficult assignment. These initiatives hold particular importance to our collective long-term efforts to improve opportunities, remove barriers, and support a more inclusive process for licensure. At this annual business meeting, we'll also hear about a draft competency framework started by past President Bayless Ward, which will guide the evolution of nearly every program in our House. This framework is a direct result of the efforts of our Competency Task Force, which finished its work earlier this year. I'd like to thank our chair, Sean Roberts, who I hope is in the room, and all the hard work of your task force this year in, creating some outstanding results. I also stood up a special work group on workforce readiness, designed to explore how expectations of employers are being met or not through our existing requirements for licensure. With the product of this work group, we hope to better prepare students to enter the profession with the highly valued knowledge and skills needed for them to be successful. Our ongoing work in all of these other committees has assured that the voice of the membership and other practitioner perspectives are present in everything we do. That's a hallmark of what makes our programs defensible and credible. So I want to close with just a couple of thank yous to my board colleagues this year for putting in the time, for the hard work you did in pulling together as a team, and for providing a really great forum for us to explore and design and critique these new ideas. To my fellow colleagues on the California board and Region 6, thank you for all of your support for these 18 years that I've been doing NCARB stuff on behalf of our profession. I'm grateful to also have professional colleagues in my firm that have supported my endless volunteer participation in NCARB for almost 20 years. I appreciate their support. But most importantly, many of you know my wife, Christine. I have to thank her, my life partner, my soulmate, my best friend, my golf buddy, without whose love and encouragement and support, good God, who knows where I'd end up today. So I have a lot to be grateful for. I have a lot of blessings. But here this week and throughout the year, we're doing important things. We're doing exciting things. We're doing necessary things. And I hope we just keep doing that. Thank you all.